Welcome into Carpooling with Ben. Folks, you know, we have such amazing architecture here in New England, and a lot of great content creators, photographers, videographers have been going out and doing something that I truly only can dream of, because the stuff they do is so great. I usually just shoot myself down and be like, oh, I couldn't do that. I could try. But David Lawlor has recently just skyrocketed with some of his photography and videography. You can see here of the Superman building and other scenes around Providence and Rhode Island. David joins me today. David, it's great to have you. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me out. I really appreciate it. I'm doing well, though.
Your stuff is incredible. I was saying that before we started the episode. Talk to me a little bit about, you know, your background. Where are you from? How did you end up here in this area? And just kind of maybe even your education, or if you're self-taught. Talk to me a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I'm actually adopted. I am from Pune, India. I was adopted right before I was 2. Came to Rhode Island around 2. I've been pretty much based in Rhode Island my whole life. I went to school at Suffolk University, so I spent 3 years living in Boston. Then my last year, I commuted. I got into photography and like video when I was little. I think when I was maybe even before like 5 or something, I was using like a VHS camera that my grandparents had. And I still have it actually to this day. And that's how I got into like video. I was doing like stop motion animations and then just like short narratives that really didn't make sense at the time, but it was a lot of fun. And then I took time off, and then I got back into it when I was in high school and college, because my ex, she was a photographer. And so she taught me some more things, and then just kind of got back into it. And I've been doing it heavily since. And within the last year, it's just been like drone photography. Ever since the pandemic hit, I took my stimulus check, bought a drone, and I said, all right, we're going to start doing this all the time. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
You took that obviously during, you know, hard time, and you've turned it into something that I think a lot of people, just by looking at, you know, the comments and looking at the reaction, even the view counts of some of these videos that you've made and put up. I know you did a lot of focus on the Superman building. You've also done the Crook Street Bridge.
Yeah.
You've done some other abandoned buildings or closed buildings, I should say. When you go, and it's interesting, you mentioned that you were adopted and you came here. I will say that you could probably use that VHS camera as like a mooring anchor or something, because they're so big and heavy. I mean,
I got it right here. I'll show you. But yeah, this is it. This is
like my
I had.
That's the stuff right there. Absolutely. Right. and you compare it to what we have nowadays, you know, something like this that, you know, it's exactly. Like, but I mean, there is an art, there is a lot of intrinsic knowledge that goes into it. And you mentioned, obviously, you know, you had some folks kind of give you those pointers and those little things, but you've taken it to the next level and you've got a really good eye for it. As you started filming, we'll talk about the Superman building for a little bit. As you started kind of getting into that and making those, and by the way, folks, if you go online, go to his Instagram, you can follow the links. You can actually connect with him and purchase some of those artworks as prints or whatever. I mean, it makes amazing gifts coming into the holidays, or just for yourself. Use Ben 10 as your, no, I'm kidding.
For 10% off.
That's right. No, absolutely. No, don't do that, folks. Pay the full price, because it is absolutely worth it. Did you start to do any kind of research on the building? And I mean, I have done some research. I'm curious to know what you have learned about
of the Superman building, or just like in general.
The Superman building, perhaps.
No, I didn't really do a lot of research. I'll be honest, like I don't really do a whole lot of research on a lot of these places that I photograph. What really gets me is just like the architecture.
Okay.
And like being in Rhode Island, it's literally just the most beautiful building. Well, in Rhode Island, it's the most beautiful building because there's a lot of different, it's got a lot of different depth to it, and it's always fun to photograph. You have the green lantern at the top, so like when it comes to like nighttime photography, or like early during the like dusk, like it looks really beautiful. So like, and it's also just like a beacon to like Rhode Island. Everybody knows the building, so that's why I photograph it. But like, I will say, like I've seen like historical photos of like the city and just like showcasing those, showcasing the Superman building in those photos, like always grabbed my attention. Because I usually like will spend like some time just looking at like historical photos, whether it be like Providence, Woonsocket, Pawtucket, like any place that has buildings that I know of and that I like really are like am like really intrigued. But like I mean, I just would like see like I try to like envision myself like in like the early 1900s, or like even some of like the late 1870s when they started building like the old historic textile mills in Rhode Island. That's like what really gets me. But I actually have a buddy. His name's Jason Allard. He does the Abandoned from Above web series, and he like goes to town. He'll like spend like hundreds of hours of like researching one location and finding all the really cool historical bits. And then like I go out and I help him get all the architectural like drone photos and videos that we can just like collab on. But like yeah, the Superman building is just it's just a beautiful facade. And then you just have like the lantern at the top that like only like few urban explorers have like gone into there and like have seen like the actual insides of it, which is amazing. And with my drone now, it's like I can get vantage point that no one in Rhode Island really does. Maybe like a handful of photographers, like maybe 10, 15 like drone photographers that have actually like captured the beauty of it. And I'm just like thankful like within this last year, I'm able to like get as many photos of that building, you know, just in case anything ever happens.
As you've looked at these different things, you mentioned how you kind of imagined yourself in that time period and going through it. Is there any kind of storylines that kind of start to form in your head? I mean,
You know,
especially
like
with the mill buildings, because they're kind of, you know, they're obviously, I mean, blood, sweat, and tears poured into those buildings.
yeah. One thing for sure is like this is so dramatic, but it's like I would have loved to have like met my partner, like met my wife here, like in that time period of just like, I don't know, it's just like a whole different world. Like when you look at it, like there's no technology really, like you're just like in the beginning of the industrial revolution, so there's no electronics. And I think just like finding someone to like have that type of life as opposed to now where everything's just like on the run, on the go, like everybody's just like in their phones. Like I mean I'm guilty of it too, like like but like it'd just be like a different life, a different world to like have that type of like upbringing as opposed to like today's world. But like it just fascinates me to see like large structures that just house all these machineries that date back from like mid 1800s to like the early 1920s before like the industrial revolution started to shift south. So I think that's fascinates me. And then just like even like knowing like not to put any of these cities or towns like down or anything, but like when you look at like historical photos of like Woonsocket on Main Street or like Pawtucket's Main Street, like they had all these giant like extravaganzas almost like just people are just bustling around. They had like big parades and like just like people like sitting on like mill rooftops and like other historical photos. But it just like fascinates me to see that type of life and like just like that bustling where now it's just like everything's getting delivered through like Amazon or like other online things. So it's just like a whole different, I don't know, it's just a whole different life where like before people were just on the streets getting their, I don't know, just like their pillowcases, something silly. Like
Right.
it's just weird. And then you just
Sure.
have like shopping malls that take away from like actual like businesses. So it's just fascinating that type of history to see it. Oh,
Yeah.
and I wish I was there, you know?
Sure. Well, and we're getting to the point now. I mean, at some point where your photography drone is probably going to have, you know, run into traffic jams with Amazon drones delivering things to people.
Yeah,
So
right.
hopefully we don't get to that point too quickly. You know, still want to support all the great, you know, local shops and everything. But
Yeah.
it's just one of those things that, you know, it is what it is with the circumstances there. We mentioned AS220. You are an artist in residence there. You've been working with that program, and you know, as
Yep.
things adapt and evolve, it's still a wonderful organization to support in the various ways. So I encourage people to go and check that out as well, because you know they're great people. For many years, AS220 has been you know,
Yeah.
it's been a staple here in Rhode Island and Southern New England. So especially with all the great art that we have, whether it be educationally or studios and whatnot, it's pretty cool. What is on the agenda going forward as we're starting to come into the fall and the springtime, excuse me, the fall and the
Yeah.
winter time? Are you looking to kind of expand and go to different areas? Do you have like a list of places you want to hit?
I don't have an exact list. Me and my friend Jason, we're trying to put together something for the fall foliage. So we're gonna hit up all different abandoned places and grab all the foliage that kind of just overgrows these buildings. I think that's like the big thing. As far as like on my own agenda, like I got, I don't know, like maybe like one more week before all the foliage really kicks in Rhode Island. But I just want to hit up like all these like historic ruins and like different parts of like Rhode Island and New England. One of my favorite places to go is definitely Connecticut, just because there's a lot of rolling hills out there. As I mean, we just don't get as much of that. And there's like massive mills out there that are abandoned. So getting that and the foliage together is going to be an awesome time. So I'm getting ready for that. That's awesome. Like the main thing right now.
Folks, he is David Lawlor. He is a photographer, videographer, great, just a super talented individual. Obviously, you mentioned working with Jason there, and you also do professional work, working on corporate projects as well. And so if people are interested in taking that artistry and transferring it over to do something a little different, they could certainly reach out to you as well. David, where should people go if they want to learn more about you and see some of your work? I guess Instagram is the best place, right?
Yeah, I think the best way to get in contact or to see more is just go to my Instagram page. There I post a lot of photos and videos and different projects that I'm working on. It is going to be a bit of a scroll because there's so many. I usually post like 3 to 4 times a day. Depending on what it is I'm capturing, I'll throw a couple photos later on that night. But also, you can always just shoot me a DM. I'm pretty personable, so like we can always chit chat whenever. Like I don't have a whole lot going on, so like I work from home most of the time, and I'm always looking if you're ever interested in any services, photos, or if you just want to learn more about the photography progress, just let me know.
Awesome. David, it's been great chatting with you. Wish you all the best as we start moving forward. We've had, artists and photographers. Of course, we've had David Zapatka on here before, who was just brilliant with his Lighthouses collection. Now to add you to the mix here, and it's great. You're doing a wonderful thing, and hopefully at some point it'd be great to see that Superman building occupied again. And if the fine folks who own that building or whatever want to give myself or even just David access to the inside, call us.
Yeah,
we're down. We'll make a day of it. But David, thank you so much for your time. Greatly appreciated, sir.
Yeah, absolutely, Ben. I really appreciate the time today.